At the hangar of a private tactical training facility in North Carolina, in the summer of 1994, 42 people sat on folding chairs arranged in a tight semicircle. The air was heavy, with the smell of floor wax and ozone. In the center of the room, a retired Central Intelligence Agency defensive tactics instructor stood with his hands on his hips. He was 34 years old, stood 6 feet 2 inches, and weighed 215 pounds. His service record was impeccable. He had spent a decade teaching hand-to-hand combat to field operatives in hostile environments. He was undefeated in his own circle of high-stakes martial arts. Across from him sat Chuck Norris. He was 54 years old. He wore a simple white t-shirt, loose-fitting cotton pants, and worn sneakers. He did not look like an instructor. He did not look like a man who had dominated the professional karate circuit for years. He looked like a man waiting for a flight at a quiet airport. In the next 10 seconds, the instructor would make the mistake that defined his professional reputation. In 10 seconds, a room full of trained men would be rendered incapable of speech. Nobody in that hangar knew they were about to witness a fundamental shift in their understanding of kinetic reality. The instructor, emboldened by his own youth and the theoretical superiority of his modern curriculum, looked down at the man in the folding chair and delivered the verdict that would echo through the specialized community for decades. "You are too old," he said, his voice bouncing off the corrugated metal walls. "You are a relic of a different era. Your timing is gone. You do not belong in this building." The silence that followed was heavy, a vacuum waiting to be filled. If you want to find out what happened next, make sure you are subscribed and comment below where you are watching from. The instructor stepped forward. He did not move like an amateur. He moved with the precision of a man who dealt in certainties. He had spent his life analyzing combat as a series of anatomical failures. He saw Norris not as a legend, but as a biological clock that had simply run out of time. The witnesses, a collection of seasoned operators and tactical experts, adjusted their posture. They knew the instructor's capability. They had seen him dismantle younger, faster men in this very room. The tournament director, a man named Miller, who had served in the same theater as the instructor, placed his hands flat on the wooden table. He did not blink. He knew the cost of arrogance. But he remained paralyzed by the expectation of a professional-grade display. Chuck Norris did not rise with a start. He stood with the fluid, economized movement of a man who had moved through 1,000 variations of this exact moment. He stood up. He walked. He waited. He reached down and took his denim jacket from the seat. He folded it once, then twice with deliberate care, and laid it across the back of the chair. It was a ritual of profound indifference. The crowd recognition began to ripple through the room. It started in the front row. A slow turning of heads, a collective realization that the person standing in the center was not just a guest, but a corrective force. It spread like a current moving across water, row by row, until the 42 men in the room were perfectly still. The instructor did not notice. He was still watching his own shadow. Chuck Norris looked at the instructor and said nothing. He simply settled his feet into the floorboards. He did not bounce. He did not roll his shoulders. He did not reach for a defensive guard. He stood in a posture of complete, terrifying neutrality. He has already lost, Norris thought to himself, watching the instructor's weight shift toward his lead foot. He just does not know it yet. Second one. The instructor launched a lead hand strike, a snapping jab designed to gauge distance and force a reaction. Norris did not block it. He did not parry it. He slipped it. He moved his head exactly 3 inches to the left, allowing the instructor's fist to pass through the space his temple had occupied a fraction of a second prior. The instructor's momentum carried him forward, his shoulder overextending, his balance momentarily compromised. Second 2. The instructor attempted to recover by driving his rear leg into a roundhouse kick. It was a textbook maneuver, powerful and fast. The room held its breath. Norris did not retreat. He stepped into the closing gap, his movement so subtle it seemed like he had simply ceased to be where he was, and appeared elsewhere. He intercepted the hip rotation before the power could manifest, his forearm finding the exact point of structural weakness in the instructor's kinetic chain. Second 3. The instructor tried a desperate clinch, reaching out to wrap his arms around Norris's waist. This was the moment where the instructor's pride finally collided with the reality of his opponent. A fight is not two men hitting each other. A fight is a negotiation about distance. The instructor believed he could control the distance by force. Norris understood that distance was a choice made by the man who was most comfortable in the void between actions. Second 4. Norris shifted his hips and executed a sweeping motion that redirected the instructor's own weight against him. The instructor staggered, his eyes wide, his mouth agape, his vocal cords locked by the sheer mechanical impossibility of what was unfolding. He could not speak, because he could not process the data. His world was inverted. Second 5. The instructor attempted a final, erratic strike, a wild hook that lacked any structural integrity. Norris did not even need to move. He simply leaned back, his eyes steady, watching the instructor's arm sail harmlessly past his chest. The instructor fell to his knees, his momentum exhausted, his breath coming in short, sharp bursts. The entire room was silent. The coffee cup on the corner table, set down by an observer in the third row, seemed to vibrate in the stillness. Norris stood over him. He did not strike. He did not gloat. He executed the mercy moment with chilling restraint. He delivered a swift, controlled kick that stopped 1 inch from the instructor's temple. It was not a blow. It was a demonstration of a deadline that had arrived. He held the position, his foot suspended in the air, a physical manifestation of a mercy that had not been earned. He reached down and extended his hand. The instructor looked at it for a long moment. This was the fork in the road. The instructor could have made an excuse, could have blamed the floor, or his own lack of sleep. Instead, he took the hand. He looked up at Norris and nodded, a silent acknowledgement of the void he had just stared into. Norris pulled him up and whispered a sentence that only the loser heard. It was not a lecture. It was a reminder that speed is a temporary asset, while awareness is a permanent condition. As Norris walked toward the door to retrieve his gear, the witnesses did something unexpected. They did not applaud. They reached out to touch his shoulder as he passed, a small involuntary contact, a way to confirm that the man who had just dismantled their reality was indeed real. The story of what happened in that hangar spread through the tactical community with the speed of an infection. It mutated as it traveled, gaining and shedding details, but the core truth remained the same. A man who was too old had proven that the hierarchy of power was not measured in years, but in the ability to remain present. The story a man tells about himself and what he can do at speed are two different things. Perception is often just a mask for the fear of being seen for what one truly is. The light kept falling on the floorboards of that hangar, indifferent to the fact that a reputation had been shattered and rebuilt in under 10 seconds. Next week we will examine the day a world-class martial artist tried to teach Chuck Norris how to properly land a kick, and what happened when the student decided to show the master a new way to end the conversation.